Welcome back to another video, and today I'll be discussing the newest makeup announcements and releases. Welcome back, and today we're going to be discussing the newest makeup announcements and releases that have been made during the last 2 weeks. There's going to be a timestamp, so if you want to skip this part of the video and just go straight to makeup news, check it in the description box, it's going to be there. But I think I just had a couple of the not like the worst weeks ever. There's been definitely some more more bad phases in my life previously that have been way longer than a couple of weeks. I don't usually like to discuss too much about personal stuff in this channel because I think for me, and I think for many of these kind of videos, are more about escapism rather than maybe having to deal with like the real life issues that I know a lot of you probably also have. But basically during the last couple of weeks, so this all began a few weeks ago on Monday, and basically, we were having a paid work related meeting, and we were holding it outside of our work offices. And when I was leaving the place that the meeting took place in, I unfortunately fell down on stairs and I sprained my left ankle. And unfortunately, I have sprained the same left ankle about a few years ago. It was in the aftermath of actually our me and my husband's honeymoon back then. And initially, when I was sort of laying on the floor trying to gather myself, and then I realized that, oh crap, it's the same ankle that I have actually injured previously, I was thinking that, okay, here we go again, because if any of you have ever sprained your ankle, you do know that there's a certain process, of course, depending how badly you have sprained it, but there's a certain process that you have to go through in order to get back to somehow the ankle being okay. So luckily, of course, I live in a country where employees obviously have to have an insurance in case something happens to the, employers have to have a insurance for the employees. So if there are injuries during your work hours, I obviously, my employer obviously had the insurance because it's legally required. So luckily I got very quickly to a hospital and they did x-ray it. So luckily in the x-ray it showed that there's nothing broken in it. It's truly a sprain, but this would have been in itself pretty manageable because, as I said, I have gone through this before. I don't think it is as badly sprained as it was a few years ago. I think this time it's gonna be a bit shorter time to getting it back in order, but that wasn't the only bad thing that happened that week. So it was Monday when I sprained the ankle. Okay, I have a work that I can luckily do at home. I told my boss I think I took 1 day sick leave because it was quite painful to be with it, but otherwise I was able to do work remotely from home from my computer and everything was okay. But then at the end of that same week, it was around Friday, I had a friend over, we were just talking and just catching up, and I remember in the evening, Friday evening, was kind of feeling that okay, I'm my throat is a bit hurting, but it's nothing serious. Then on Saturday morning I wake up, my throat, it's very much in pain. I basically, everything felt everything felt pretty blocked up. I wasn't able to breathe properly through my nose, and I was thinking that, oh, that this is just not possible, that not only did I have an ankle injury in the beginning of the week, now I'm having a cold. Usually I'm a person that my colds, I'm usually pretty quick in terms of recovering from them. Usually it has been taking a couple of days, but I don't know what this thing has been, because this has definitely been way worse than some of the colds I have previously. I have been almost now, you can probably still hear it, my voice is still a bit down, but I was full on the whole previous week that I was not able to work that much, and it was pretty frustrating to basically being first having the ankle injury and then you're suffering from a cold, and it wasn't just a short cold, it's a very serious one. I had fever at some point, and it just took a very long time to recover from it. I was at one point coughing. I basically joked to my friends that I was basically coughing my lungs out because it was that bad, and yeah. And this has led to the fact that because of the ankle injury and then the cold that followed, I've been also cooped up in me and my husband's apartment for almost 2 weeks. Luckily, yesterday, I was finally able to actually sort of go out on a shopping center nearby and actually have a cup of coffee and just enjoy being outside of our apartment. I think the modern age is it's kind of nice that you do have these services. Obviously I was able to order food in, and my husband, he went to the pharmacy and to the supermarket to get some stuff when I wasn't able to go, but I think there is a limit that you can be like inside your own house. I'm certainly a person who actually likes being at home and doing stuff at home. I usually like, when I'm not doing like filming makeup YouTube, I like to, there are a few computer games that I play, and then I like to watch some series online. So like I like being at home, but I think that these 2 weeks has now been like my limit, where I'm like that I need to get like out again. I want to see like other people. I want to like go to my workplace offices, because it's nice to have a workplace that, yeah, we can do remote work, but I actually do enjoy also being at office and seeing my colleagues. So yeah, that was a very like a long explanation. Basically, I haven't been doing that well, I think. Yeah, health-wise, but also it's really starting to like mentally show that now I really need to like get out to meet people again, and also just generally not have the health issues. About the ankle part, obviously, like you can probably still hear a bit the cold. I am like almost recovered, but you can still kind of hear it in my voice. The ankle part, I can like put pressure on it. I can stand up, and I can now already walk short distances. What is the most like annoying part is that I actually do like as an exercise, I usually do long walks, and then a couple of times a week I lift heavy weights in gym. So obviously the heavy weight lifting part in gym, that is something that I can't be getting back to. I'm a bit optimistic that maybe in a few weeks time I can start doing some lightweight exercises again, but it's pretty frustrating, because obviously with the weightlifting you are trying to build like strength, and then if you have a longer breaks that you're not able to do it, obviously it's going to be a setback to your progress. So that is maybe something that I am already like still frustrated about, but it's just that you have to deal with it. And as I said, in my case, this isn't the first time that I'm dealing with the fact that my ankle apparently is not okay, but yeah. Anyway, that was about the explanation, like what has been happening, and now let's start actually talking about the new makeup release. I'm pretty happy that we are getting back to doing like normal videos again. Right, and because it's been 2 weeks, there's quite a few things to talk through. I did sort of do some rearranging in my Instagram folder, so I did discard some things that I thought that were not so interesting, and tried to prioritize the things that I thought would be most interested for you guys to hear about. So first one, there are a few things from Maybelline. I try to group these into one section per brand. So first one is a Fit Me Spot Rescue Full Coverage Concealer. This is a 24-hour wear fade spots and minimizes pimples. So I think for me this looks more of maybe a spot concealer rather than something that you like. Obviously you probably can put this under your eyes, but I think what they are advertising this to is truly for being like a spot concealing. So if you do have like pimples or some other imperfections on your like targeted imperfections on your skin, then you can use this one. I have no idea when this is coming to Europe. I haven't, well, obviously, if you watch the intro, I haven't been out on makeup stores that much recently, but at least in our online retailers, I have not yet seen this, so it could be that this is available in States, at least so far. Then there was something else, so this also goes to the Fit Me line, so this is the Microscopic Concealer Pen, so this looks pretty interesting. I think Lisa Eldridge had a pretty similar thing, that she launched this very like skinny concealer type of pen, so I think this is kind of going like similar route in terms of this product. I am a bit questioning, like for me, that would this be a, how should I say, for me this is not maybe an appealing product, because I don't think I have that like, maybe for like, yeah, if you want to do very precise contouring, this kind of product could be nice, but as a like concealer, I think for me, I need a bit more like a bigger product. I think this is maybe a bit too skinny for me, but if you are this kind of product appeals to you, and maybe the Lisa Eldridge one, you weren't able to get it because of the availability, because Lisa Eldridge, it's not that widely accessible, and you definitely don't want to pay that much, then this could be, again, something to look into. But this is also something that I have not yet seen in our Maybelline retailers. It could be, again, that it's a US exclusive. Then a product that apparently has been spotted in Europe, but at least in our country this is not yet available, but it could be that this is coming pretty soon. So they are expanding their Grippy line, and this is the Say Hello to the Grippy Setting Mist. So I think this is one of those setting mists that is supposed to, again, just like Grippy primers, to help maybe your foundations to stick a bit better. I think if you are someone who likes your long-wear makeup, this could be worth to try. For me, I have not been. I think I tried one of these more grippier primers. I didn't like how those worked with the foundation application that I like to do. So for me, this is a skip. But if you have been a fan of this particular product line, it should be also available pretty soon. Then we have a couple of launches from Makeup Revolution. So first one is the Wrap Brow Tubing Brow Gel. This is already available on Revolution's website. My big questioning is that tubing brow gel, like I can get a tubing mascara, I can like get it why people like them. I'm maybe not the fan because of the like how the process is to take those off, but I do get it that especially people who don't like to wear waterproof mascaras, but they don't want something that smudges, these are pretty good choices. But in a brow gel format, I'm a bit like, yeah, that probably can work. I'm just like maybe thinking because with the tubing mascaras there's the idea that there's like the mascara forms tubes around your lashes, but with brow hair, like I was thinking that maybe would it maybe make your brow hairs look strange. Maybe I'm overthinking this one. Maybe this could be an excellent brow product. I'm not usually a person, like I usually do my brows like for special celebrations and stuff, so I'm not a person who does them daily, but if you are curious about this kind of product, this is already available on Revolution's website. And then I think we did have another, so Makeup Revolution is coming out with contour ones. I actually was thinking that when they are gonna do this, because I don't think currently they have contouring products in their cheek product line, which is a bit strange considering that they do have plenty of other like cheek products within their line. I'm a bit confused about the shade range, so a bit of background information. I like most of Makeup Revolution's cheek products, and for example the cream bronzers that they have in the circular packaging, very excellent drugstore formula. The issue is that the shades with Makeup Revolution bronzers are very yellow and brown leaning, so they don't suit someone like me who has a cool rose undertone. With the contour stick, the image that I'm showing, the light shade, again, the fairest shade looks to be very yellow leaning. However, I did see a promo video on their Instagram where they were like sort of swatching the shades in like on a real model. And in that video, the light contour shade looks actually like a contour shade, which it should be a more cool tone shades. So with this particular product, I'd be very interested to try this one out, but I think I would want to see these in store and now actually see like how, is it actually a yellow leading shade or is it actually a truly cool tone shade, which a contouring shade should be. But because Makeup Revolution's the cream bronzer formula, that is a very good formula. I am having high expectations that the contour stick formula should be good, but yeah, as I said, I'm not gonna order this online because, as I said, I've had a bit bad experiences with the shade undertones, but if you have been enjoying your Makeup Revolution cream bronzer products previously and you have been looking for contour products, these are also some that I think you can already get. Guerlain is coming out with some Meteor compacts, and these are now in a pressed powder form rather than in pearls. Again, the packaging, 10 out of 10. Guerlain does this very well in terms of like packaging, and now we actually do like there's like 3 actual shade variations, which that is. It's still not like a huge amount of shades in terms of shade range, but at least we're trying to be a bit better. I'm not, this is not something that I am interested in, but because purely first of all, it's a, like, Guerlain is a very, like, hideously expensive brand, and also I don't think I need to pay that much for powder products, but if you've been a fan of the Meteorite, the sort of pearls, and you've been looking that in a pressed powder format, I think this is something that is gonna be available soon on retailers. So GlamShop came out with a full-on new collection, and within this collection I think there was a bronzer, I think there was a highlighter, and then we had a very neutral looking palette. So apparently with this palette what is interesting is that they are advertising that you can use the palette shades, you can use them with water, which means that they are more pigmented, or you can use them just as traditional powder shades. My only like bit gripe with this one, I was kind of like tempted that should I actually maybe order and try this one out, but the palette is actually pretty pricey for GlamShop palette. So this particular palette, I think it was 39 euros, and GlamShop, they released a floral themed collection earlier that had one of their big palettes, and that was still like around 35 euros, and I think this actually has less shades than the, this I think has less shades than the, for example, the big palettes that they usually have come out with. So I'm thinking that is this the is the formula now something new that they're experimenting with that is making this more expensive compared to some other palettes in their like offering? So I think for me what kind of then made the decision that I'm not gonna order was the when I checked at the pricing and I was thinking that okay, 39 euros. The formula, it might be something very innovative or it could be just a very traditional cream to powder or water activated formula. But considering that it is still a very basic neutral palette, I was thinking that 39 euros for GlamShop, it's a bit too much for what you are getting. So for me this was a skip, but if you are planning to order this or try this particular palette out, just know that they are like advertising this as something that you can like manipulate the formula a bit differently if you use water with the shades. Charlotte Tilbury is launching some eyeshadow sticks, so nothing wrong with this particular launch in like on paper, but I'm just thinking that I've always said that you can get good eyeshadow sticks at drugstore. You can get some from Loreal. Kiko's are my personal favorite. L'Oreal does eyeshadow sticks. So for me, and also when I looked at the line, the shades are pretty basic. Like these are very like safe neutral brown leaning, and then you have some champagne leaning shades. So for $32 I do like per shade. I think that's a bit too much for what this product is. Like sure, the packaging is very like, you can see that it's a more high-end release, but I'm just thinking that for me, it's a bit too much for what you are getting, and as I said, there are good drugstore options. And additionally, because at least when, for example, ABH came out with their eyeshadow sticks, and again, because ABH is a more like expensive brand, the eyeshadow sticks are a bit more expensive, but with ABH it was truly a very extensive range. There were actually like some fun colors. With this one, I'm just looking at them and thinking that we're seeing just so many browns and beiges, so it's not a launch for me, but if you are a huge Charlotte Tilbury fan and you want to spend the money on these, I think these are already available. Klarity is coming out with a 9-pan palette, so this is apparently a revamped version of their chocolate seduction palette. I don't remember, I'm trying to think that do I actually remember, yeah, I didn't recognize that this was a revamped version, so for me, I probably missed the original one. It's a pretty like warm tone neutral palette. I do think like chocolate inspired, yeah, I can see it, but it is still like, I think if you have a lot of brown palettes, you probably have something like this in your collection. It is a like what I would say more gold leaning brown palette, but yeah, for me it's a easy skip, but if you were looking something like this from Klarity, this is apparently already available. So NYX is coming out with a little lingerie cream lip. Yeah, it's truly English is not the first language in this channel. So, Little Lingerie Cream Eye Pigment. So I remember, I think I saw Moira brought something similar not that long ago, and I was kind of thinking that would I want to try it out, but because I do still have eyelids that even though my skin otherwise these days is not too oily prone, but with my eyelids they do still tend to get a bit oily, so for me this is always a product where I'm kind of going like that, yeah, for some this could be a very like nice convenient way of like applying a like applying some like shadow on the eyelid, but I'm just thinking that with the particular formula that if you especially suffer from like very oily eyelids, this is probably not the formula for you. Apparently this has been a TikTok shop launch, so if TikTok shop is available in your country you can get that from there, but I do believe this is a product that probably is going to come out sooner or later also to other retailers. We have a collection from Glamlite. So Glamlite did a Barbie collection, was it a year ago or 2 years ago? It was a very big palette that was included in the collection. I think that was also available on Monolith Shop for some time. So this is now the second round, and this time there is a small eyeshadow palette. We get some lip kits because Glamlite likes to do lip kits, and then we actually have 3 variations of a face palette. I'm not actually that mad about this particular collection. I actually think that I like this one much more than I liked the original very like huge palette that was in the original Barbie launch. I could even be tempted to order some of the one of the lip kits because they do look kind of cute. The eyeshadow palette, it's like very nice pink neutral palette, but I do have to be honest, I have this kind of color story like many times in my collection, so I don't need this one. But I do think one of the cheek palettes, and as I said, maybe one of the lip kits, like Glamlite isn't that expensive, so this could be one of those collections that would be fun to try, because I know it's not gonna be that costly compared to some other indie brands, but then I have to be very honest with myself that I kinda, especially with the eyeshadow palette, have a lot of this already in my collection. But if you are a huge Barbie fan, I do think this is already available on Glamlite's own website, and if you live in Europe, keep an eye on Bougie Shop and on Monolith Shop, because those are the two places that I do know that Glamlite is stocked in, so most likely the collection, some of the stuff is gonna be available here at some point. So L'Oreal is launching eyeshadow quads. Now, I think we all know that these pretty like big traditional drugstore brands, especially like Maybelline, L'Oreal, and I would even argue NYX, that those are probably not known for their eyeshadow being the top seller thing. Like I could like imagine buying a lot of other products from each of those three brands, but the eyeshadow with those brands not the thing I want to spend my money on. So it is quite interesting that L'Oreal is launching quads. I was kind of looking at these thinking that are we duping the Charlotte Tilbury quads, because the color stories are looking a bit samey, but then if you are doing quads that are probably geared towards a mainstream consumer that is just looking to buy something quick from a drugstore section, and these kind of neutral leaning quads are probably the thing that people are gravitating towards the most. So I have no idea when these are going to be available, because I haven't seen these at least yet on our L'Oreal retailers. I would probably want to swatch these in store, because I mean, for science sake, I could be even tempted to try, because as I said, L'Oreal is definitely a brand that I like. If you say L'Oreal and eyeshadow, I'm gonna be like, what, that they don't even do eyeshadow. I know that they actually have like eyeshadow sticks and individual eyeshadows, but palettes, for example, are not something that we have seen that much from L'Oreal. So as I said, for science sake, I could be interested to try this, but I would very much want to first see these in store and maybe feel out the formula a little bit. In European drugstores, you actually do have testers, so you can kind of watch these out. But curious to also see the pricing, because L'Oreal from the drugstore brands, especially here in Europe, not the cheapest one. Some of their products are actually very much on the mid-range price, so I am also curious to see how they are gonna price these. But yeah, so wait and see when these are going to be available, because as I said, so far I haven't seen these yet, at least in our country, but in somewhere these have been spotted, because we got so many promo images from these already. So R.e.m. Beauty is launching a more of a edgier collection, so this is called A Little Bit Dangerous. I do like the fact that they are now keeping with the quads that they have been coming out. I have said that the moment I am able to visit a Sephora, which is hopefully going to be happening during summer. We're actually going to be traveling to Poland and Germany with my husband, and both of those countries have a Sephora, so I hope at least in one of those we have the R.e.m. quads available, because I've been like very keen seeing swatches and everything. The R.e.m. quads seem to be like very good quality eyeshadows, especially for like Sephora brand, and something a bit different. But with this one we are seeing a quad, and then we are seeing a couple of lip products, and is this a, what's the thing in the tube? There's a lip balm in this one. I do think maybe maybe a grungy blush would have made a nice addition to this one. Maybe like I would have to say the liquid lipsticks are not maybe something that I'm interested in. Also not the quad, even though I am happy they are continuing with the quads. The colors in the quads itself are not maybe that interesting, but if you are like, I do think the packaging in this one is actually pretty cool. So I am giving this, in terms of like package execution, a 10 out of 10, but not maybe the products themselves individually something I'm interested in. But if you are a fan of R.e.m. Beauty, I think this is something that is going to be, it says at least on R.e.m. Beauty's own website it should be on 11th of May, so what day is it? Actually, it's gonna be on the week this video goes live, so by the time this video goes live you can at least buy this on R.e.m. Beauty's own website. Then Colourpop is launching Jelly Much eyeshadow sticks, so I got one of these kind of jelly eyeshadow sticks in my Gloss Gods advent calendar, so I have tried a similar product to this one from another brand. Wasn't that much of a fan. I've been now trained to just use the eyeshadow stick up, and what I don't like about this is that my eyeshadow stick, it crumbles. Like when I try to like layer it over my eyelid, it starts crumbling. It's not a very pleasant formula to work with, so I at least hope that if Colourpop is now hopping on the eyeshadow stick train, at least they might have a formula that doesn't start dissolving immediately when you start layering it. We do get quite a few shades. There were some punchier ones, then we get some more of a champagne and paler shimmer shades. So I think with these ones now, having used this kind of product like from a different brand, I would advise that if you have the option to swatch these in store, maybe swatch them in store and see how the formula reacts when you try to layer it over, because So far, my experience with this kind of particular jelly formula, I haven't been that impressed, but it could be that maybe Colourpop has figured out a way to do this better. And I can kind of get it like for again, to a consumer that wants something very quick to swipe on their eyelids, this could be very like convenient. But so far for me, I haven't been at least that impressed with the variation that I have tried. So NARS is coming out with a Insatiable liquid blushes. I'm kind of thinking that don't they have the like liquid blushes in the kind of square packaging? Because I could swear they have had. So I think this is now maybe just a new variation. So this is a fade proof wear 16-hour finish. So apparently this is promising to be a bit more long lasting. So maybe the ones in the square kind of packaging are maybe a bit on the Dior side, and this is supposed to be now more of a matte kind of long wear formula. I mean, it's the shade range is a bit maybe generic. I'm just thinking, considering the NARS pricing, considering just how much liquid blushes we have in a similar packaging from other luxury brands, high-end brands, and then we have some from drugstore and mid-range brands. I just think that in terms of blush, that if NARS would have come out with this one a couple of years ago, I would have said that they are on trend. Now I'm thinking that maybe it's a bit like, we're maybe a bit over the sort of liquid blush trend, at least in this kind of format. So for me, I think this is an easy skip, because I certainly don't need any more liquid blushes. But if you were hoping for a longer liquid blush from NARS, I think this is going to be coming pretty soon. Then a huge collection from Kiko. So this is done in collaboration with just Cavalli. So we have very like animal print themed collection, which automatically for me was like that, okay, I'm not liking this one. I'm not a fan of animal print. I know for some that's a very appealing design format, but for me, not a fan of animal prints. I did mention this on my sort of Instagram stories, that if you missed out the Kiko's powder marble blushes, that they usually do these in summer collections. Well, we now got them also here, so if you want to get them, there are 3 shades, and this is one of actually like my favorite like powder formulas, at least what Kiko has come out with. Aside from the blushes, we get 5 new 3D Hydro Gloss shades. Those were definitely, there was a short second that I did eye those out, but then I made the conclusion again that I don't like the packaging of this collection. Also the shades themselves, the Sparkly Lilac one is kind of like fun, but otherwise I was thinking that I can pass this one. Also, I have the Sparkly Lilac shade variation from their summer collection that they launched a couple of years ago, so I'm good. There are lip liners, there are lipstick, there are liquid eyeshadows. We actually get an eyeshadow queen, though I do have to say the color story was a bit questionable. When I looked at the shades in the queen, I was thinking that I would have a very hard time coming up with a cohesive look when I looked at the shades that were chosen to the queens. Then I think there's some highlighters, we got some bronzers, there were a foundation sticks and mascaras, and wow, there's a lot of stuff. So for me this is a skip, but if you are a fan of the collaboration that this is done in the collaboration, the collaborating partner that this is done with, or if you like the animal print theme, this could be probably your dream, but for me it's just, it's a very, very easy skip. Then another brand that is launching a lot. So from Dior, first we are getting some extension to the Backstage line. So this is the classic, actually I think both of these are extension to the Backstage line, so yeah. So first one is a new product completely, so this is a classic glow stick. So I'm not that surprised considering that we have the sort of lip balm, we now have the sort of like more pigmented glowy lipstick, and we have the stick blushes that came out last year. I'm not surprised we are now seeing a stick highlighter in this range. I'm just waiting for the bronzer and contour stick at this point in the same packaging. I'm always a bit 50-60 about these highlighter stick, because some of them could be very great, but then some of them are like shimmer and Vaseline. This one looks to be the fact that there isn't that many sparse shimmer particles, so the particles in it, so it could actually be nice, but there is a pink highlighter, surprisingly, like as if I would need another pink highlighter, but that would probably be the most appealing. There's also a minty one which could be kind of cool, so yeah, I actually do like the packaging design variation that they did for this one. I kind of like the iridescent thing that they have kind of going on with it, but I think in terms of stick highlighters, this might not be the one that I want to spend my money on, because it is Dior, so it's more pricey. Then we are getting a proper shade extension. I think this might be their pre-summer launch, so we are getting this sort of very rosy rosy shades. I do think for Mother's Day this could actually be like could have been like a perfect launch, but I think Mother's Day it's a different time in different places, because I know in US I think you already kind of have it, and here in Europe I think it's a bit later. But for Mother's Day actually these rosy shades I could have seen this being a very like on-spot collection. But basically they are expanding the lip balms. We get four new powder blush shades, and we also get 4 new stick blush shades. I did try the powder blush in the holiday lawn collection from last year. The powder blush formula I thought in the Backstage line it was okay, but I wasn't wowed with it. So considering that these are more expensive, even though I do kind of like the rosy shades, I'm kind of also thinking that actually one of the rosy shades looks very close to the shade that we got in the holiday collection that I actually have. So this would not probably be a good collection to blind buy online, because it could be that you end up buying similar shades. So for me, I think this is a skip. The stick blushes, I saw quite a lot of reviews. I was initially a bit interested on the stick blushes in the Backstage range, but then I saw a lot of reviews and I don't think the reviews were that positive, especially considering the price point. And also obviously for a lip balm, I'm not going to be paying Dior prices for a lip balm. So even though I do kind of like the rosy shade extension, I'm also kind of going that it's nice, but not anything that I am in a super need of. And then we're going from Dior to drugstore. So Morphe is coming out with a sort of colored loose powder. So in 2 variations, we have one for fair skin tones, and then the other one I assume is for deeper skin tones. So these are these sort of multicolored powders that are, I think, meant to also do some color correcting. I think a good option if you don't want to get this from Morphe, I think Moira has this, so it's another like Morphe I think is a bit cheaper, but I do think Moira's quality generally has been getting a lot of praise. So if you are looking for options, you can get these in like other bit more inexpensive brands. But if Morphe is inaccessible to you and you are into these sort of color correcting setting powders, this is I think available on US Ulta, so I assume it's going to be coming out soon too. Other retailers, for me this is not the kind of like product that I primarily like need to try out, but I think on a pressed powder format I could at least in some point be a bit curious to try this one, but not something that I would like say that I have to get it now. And are we on the last launch of today? Yeah, we're on the last actual launch of today, and then lastly I'm gonna touch upon a sneak peek of a announcement. So not Morphe. So MAC is coming out with their, I think, variation of a lip stain. So this is the Luster Glass Stain Glass Lip Tint. So MAC is very much catching up with all the other brands with the sort of K-beauty, Asian beauty lip tint trend that we have seen now a lot of Western brands doing their adoption of this kind of product. Again, there's probably like, knowing that MAC is pretty stellar in terms of their quality and they are actually known for their lip product, I think this is probably going to be a good formula, but you can get similar formulas from drugstore, you can get them from, as I said, K-beauty, other Asian beauty brands. So I think at this point there is like quite a lot of offering in terms of lip tint, so I don't know do you necessarily have to get this from MAC, but if you are a huge MAC Cosmetics fan, this could be something to look into. But for me, I'm not someone who, like, I don't buy MAC products because for me they always go in terms of pricing to the in-between category, where for they're just at the price point where I can get similar products at drugstore prices, or if I then want to splurge, then I usually just buy something from another high-end brand. So for me, this is a skip, but if you like MAC lip products, I do think these are going to be available soon on MAC retailers. And then lastly, we're going to touch about a sneak peek. I usually don't cover sneak peek because I actually like to show the actual product, but with this one I'm a bit unsure when we're going to see the product, so I thought that I'll cover it last. So Monolith Shop is going to be hopping to the trend that a lot of makeup online retailers do, that they are going to be coming out with their own in-house brand, and this is going to be called the Epic Beauty. Well, they certainly chose a name for this. Let's see how epic it's going to be. So I assume because Monolith Shop is known for selling mainly indie brands, this is going to be something similar that other indie brands do. So I do expect some maybe multi-chrome eyeshadow palettes and then some maybe other product categories. So there's not yet like much of it information about this one. It's just saying that Epic Beauty by Monolith is coming its way, but it's not even saying at this point like when we are gonna see this. So is it gonna be like already during May, or is it gonna take until June, or maybe later? And also we don't have any like information about the product, but so with this one I'm a bit curious to see how this is gonna go, because maybe a good example, so by Beauty Bay, which had some like issues. They actually were sold to now they went into the like bankruptcy in the UK, a similar proceeding to bankruptcy where they had to look out for someone to buy them or the company would have gone under. And with Beauty Bay, they initially were known for actually like offering a lot of brands that at the time were not that accessible, at least here in Europe and within UK. And then at some point Beauty Bay, they brought out also their own branded makeup, and actually at some point it started looking that with Beauty Bay we started seeing less and less these like interesting brands, and then we just started seeing more and more of Beauty Bay's own makeup. And it would have been interesting to see, and we will never know the finances, but it would be interesting to see that the sort of Beauty Bay's own branded makeup, which was obviously because they were like doing it as an in-house brand, they were able to do it cheaper than the sort of like when you retail other brands, because then you have to consider your own margins and then also the margin of the brand that you're retailing. So I'm kind of like thinking that maybe one thing that contributed to the fact that Beauty Bay, the online retailer, got into trouble was maybe the fact that maybe their own brand makeup sales were at some point starting to eat away the sales of the other brands that were retailing, which meant that then brands started pulling back, which then led to the fact that there were less brands available. And then I don't think Beauty Bay, they probably were not successful enough selling just their own branded makeup to keep them afloat, which kind of then ended up them having to be like sold to another company. So I'm kind of curious to now see, having seen the Beauty Bay example of going through the whole phase of first like being just retailer for these very cool brands that were hard to get and what probably brought them a lot of customers, then to like launching their own brand, and then maybe that own brand bit affecting also the sale of the other brands that were available on their platform. So I'm hoping with Monolith Shop it doesn't end up like the fact that they are launching their own in-house brand, that it's not gonna start eating away the sales of their like the brands that they are selling, because at least here in Europe it has been a very convenient and good way of getting these indie brands, because I remember the time that I had to order like indie brands from abroad, and it was especially the ones that you had to order from US, like you really had to be very careful to like what you ordered and when you ordered, because usually with indie brands the shipping times were pretty long and they were very much like additional shipping cost, because obviously you had to pay the value-added tax when you were importing, and also the like shipping costs themselves were expensive. And considering the economic climate currently, like I don't even want to know how much it currently like costs to order anything from overseas, because even the shipping prices within Europe have been getting higher. So curious to see with Monolith Shop that how this is gonna work out, and how this is gonna especially affect the brands other brands that they are selling. And who knows, maybe they are not gonna like compete directly with the brands that they are like currently offering. Maybe they're just gonna bring out tools, or maybe they're gonna do other products than eyeshadow palettes. But then from indie brands, eyeshadow palettes are mostly the most popular product that people buy from them. So yeah, interested to see how this is gonna be, like what products they are launching and how this is gonna do, and especially how it's gonna affect the other brands they retail. But I hope it's not gonna end up in this very vicious cycle that what I think happened with Beauty Bay, is that the in-house brand is gonna start eating away from the sales of the other brands, and then those other brands make the decision that it's not worth for them to be sold anymore on Monolith Shop, which meant that it's gonna be then again gonna actually like shrink down the selection of indie brands that especially people here in Europe can order. So we shall see what's gonna happen in the future, and I'm gonna be keeping an eye out for this one and covering this more when we're gonna see the products, actual products that are gonna be launching. Those were all the launches that I had to discuss for today. I don't think there were actually that many products that were there actually like any products that I think I'm gonna be like buying? I don't think, no. And this has been we have had like few now. Well, from the previous video that I did a couple of weeks ago, we did have the Fenty bronzer. I'm still actually waiting for that to come. I saw on Fenty's website that I saw on Fenty's Instagram that I think it's gonna be available during May, so the bronzer hopefully is gonna come soon to like Fenty's retailers. But otherwise it's been like maybe a bit now slower in terms of launches that I'm actually like interested to buy. Comment down below what were your maybe top launches from the few weeks, and actually are you like feeling maybe the same currently, that there isn't that much interest in makeup launches, or if there are interesting makeup launches, then let us know that what those are. If you like this video, push the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell button if you want to get notifications from future content. You can also find me with the same nickname Makeup Hedgehog on Instagram. I'll see you in another video. Bye bye!